Oh, okie dokie. I'm live, and we are about to review episode 8 of Doctor Who Series 11, The Witchfinders. 2 more episodes left. Christ almighty. Oh, it kind of feels like that we are getting through Series 11 very, very quickly, and yet we've only got 2 more episodes left. Just kind of gives us the feeling that we have got just so little time left of Doctor Who left, and then it's the Christmas period without a Christmas special, a New Year special instead. So I'm a bit worried, really. It's not how I would typically find Doctor Who as its finest. It's not how I'm used to Doctor Who. I usually expect 12 episodes of Doctor Who, then move over to a Christmas special, and then you get another series of Doctor Who within the next year. Yeah, it kind of feels a bit different that way. It kind of feels like that we're getting only 10 episodes, then getting a New Year special, which kind of seems a bit different for me, unfortunately. Oh yeah, Adam, don't worry. You go and watch whatever you want. I mean, stay on this live stream for a little bit. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the Witchfinders, as this is my episode live stream review. And if anybody wants to join in at any point, then please join right now. And if you're watching this from another time, then please make sure you comment down below your entire opinions on the Witchfinders if you're watching this at a separate point in this stage. I don't know whether that makes sense. To be honest, I've said it in most of my reviews, and if you're new here, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, if you want more amazing Doctor Who content. So yes, I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to get straight into the episode review of The Witchfinders. I've got to say, this one has been, in a way, I've got to say, Series 11, for a particular majority of this entire series, has purely been based on historical episodes. And even before Series 11 started, I didn't even think we were going to even get any historical episodes. I was literally thinking we were just going to get the one episode, the one historical episode. But we've had 3 historical episodes, and I'm trying to think, is 3 too much, or is 2 enough? Like, how many historical episodes do you need in order to make a good series? But I do like a bit of diversity. I do like a little bit of difference with this series. And now they've done 3 historical episodes. Here's my real opinions about this whole thing about historical episodes. I find historical episodes underrated, and I also find them as a learning curve to pick up on any lost knowledge or any lost history that you've not even learned about before. Like, we've learned about Rosa Parks, we've learned about the partition of India, and now we've learned about the history about King James and the 17th century and witchcraft. So yeah, there's been a lot of history that we've learned over these last 3 episodes, and I've got to admit that Series 11 has done these 3 historical episodes to perfection. Honestly, these historical episodes have been phenomenal. I would never ever think that my pure favorite episodes of this series are the historical episodes. I've got to admit, Rosa Parks episodes was phenomenal. Then we had the Demons of the Punjab, and now we have the Witch Hunters. And I can safely say again that I really, really, really enjoyed this episode. I really did. I don't think there was any sort of doubt in my mind that I felt that this episode wasn't going to be as great as the other 2. I literally was glued to the screen straight away because there was just so much context, and I love the theme of the witchcraft. I think we needed to touch upon witchcraft a bit more purely historically, in a way, because in a way it wasn't actually exactly witchcraft. It was more alien mud slash technology trying to take over dead corpses and turning them into so-called witches, like assistants of Satan. In a way, it kind of gives us the feeling that it wasn't proper witches. It was mainly just aliens taking over dead corpses and then turning them into witches. That was basically the concept. it kind of gives me the overlist question to all of you guys. Which episode do you prefer from these two? The Shakespeare Code, where we actually saw real witches with David Tennant and Martha, or do you prefer this episode with Jodie Whittaker, Ryan, Graham, and Yaz? Which one do you prefer? Because I can't really make a true decision whether which one had the perfect witches, which which oh, this is going to be difficult. Oh, those tongue twisters again are going to be so annoying. No, I'm still a bit unsure whether which one's better, because I still need to have another watch of the Shakespeare Code. I think personally, I love the Shakespeare Code a lot. I find it so underrated, and I really do like this episode a lot because they do have. There's always one particular historical figure in these historical episodes that you're glued to the screen, and they give out a sensational historical performance, like with William Shakespeare back in series 3, and now with this episode where we had King James played by the wonderful Alan Cumming, and he was just honestly the best character in the episode, as well as with the Doctor as well. But he was sensational. I couldn't take my eyes away from him. He was naughty, he was cheeky, he was manipulative. He had all of these, excuse me, he had all of these elements of surprise, traveling incognito. He had a great way of thinking. He had a great backstory, a sad backstory, and he was a bit confused and a bit tormented sometimes. But then when Jodie Whittaker and Alan Cumming were having that big, massive discussion, then I suddenly realized that these two characters are so good that I can't really take my eyes off the Doctor or King James, because they were just really, really good characters. And so, yes, we might as well start off. I know I've already just started off the live stream review, but oh well, let's just carry on. So the Doctor and the gang arrive in the early 17th century in Lancaster in Pendle Hill, also known as Biohurst Crag, which no longer exists anymore, which that was the original name, but now they've completely scrapped that name completely to erase all existence of what has happened at Biohurst Crag. I mean, I'm still going to have a little quick look if Biohurst Crag actually existed, and I'm going to see if it did really exist, or did the writers just make it up on the spot, because that would just mean that they've made up a weird name on the spot, but it has no relevance to it, and I would feel a little bit strange, a little bit out of context. And so yes, the dark masked hooded character was played by Alan Cumming, King James the First. And I've got to say that I literally thought that masked hooded character was like, oh my gosh, it's a hooded character. I love hooded characters. And I was just expecting it either to be King James or somebody else, or probably like a villain. He just looked really creepy, really dark, and he just had it's like the classic type figure. It kind of felt like that he had that mask on and he was like traveling in a costume. Felt like he was in like a pantomime. It didn't actually feel like that this episode was a pantomime. It kind of got me the feeling that these episodes, or these historical episodes, have brilliant costumes. I don't think that his outfit didn't really give us a real good portrayal of what this episode was going to be like. It didn't feel like a pantomime at all, but just his costume just gave a real pantomiming feeling to it. And so, yes, we did. We got the rule from the Doctor, so do not interfere with the fundamental fabrics of history. And then five minutes later, the Doctor goes into the river and tries to save Willa's granny from being drowned, as she was accused of being a witch. And unfortunately, she gets there a bit too late, and she unfortunately drowns. But the Doctor just couldn't manage to save her, unfortunately, which was good, because most of the time you see the Doctor saving everyone all the time, but then seeing for one person who, she was too late and she could have really saved that one person, kind of gives us the feeling that sometimes the Doctor's not always there to help all the people and to save everyone. Some people have to suffer deaths even if the Doctor is a bit late in the end. So yeah, it kind of gives us the feeling that the Doctor isn't all powerful and isn't all, full-headed with like doing jobs of saving everyone, making sure that every single person is alive. She can't really guarantee that at all. So I thought that was really good. Yeah, I mean, what's the whole point of about having these rules and like you're never ever gonna use or keep them? It's like every single time when the Doctor makes a rule or gives out a rule to the gang, like do not interfere with the fabrics of history, or even so, she hates she the thing is about these rules, it happened in Kablam. It's like the Doctor said, I love a conspiracy. And then about 10 minutes later, the Doctor spoke to Ryan and Yaz saying, I don't like conspiracies. What is with all these rules being broken for some apparent reason? I don't understand it. It's like for 1 minute, the Doctor says, do not interfere, do not, you know, cause any problems with the fabrics of history, and do not cause any competitions or anything that will severely cause an entire paradox or change in the course of history. And then unfortunately she has to go into the lake and try and does the interfering bit, which Ryan is like, oh, that's what I call interfering, right? You keep not keeping up to your rules, Doctor. So yeah, that was a bit of a nitpick that I did have. Not keeping the Doctor's promises, which is one thing or another which I like and dislike. It's just whether these rules are now worth anymore, because sooner or later, after 5 minutes of even saying that do not interfere, she's already interfering. So you can't really stop her. Now, already at this point, when the woman got drowned in the lake and Becca Savage was pointing the finger at her as accusing her of being a witch, and then the Doctor suddenly comes over and starts to go all out aggressive and angry at Becca Savage for who she is. And then the Doctor has some really good moments, like especially when she was trying to talk up to Becky Savage, like, I'll tell you who I am. Wait 1 minute. Like, it's like something like that. I don't know, but it kind of gives us the feeling that she's not prepared to stand up and to present like evidence or like her psychic paper. Like she completely forgot her psychic paper. I know this isn't psychic, but I was just using it as a an example, if you know what I mean. Imagine if I did have psychic paper, that would be incredible. But we all know that this day and age we can't have psychic paper, unless in a few years we might do. But then again, it make passports and IDs very, very easily to get into. I don't know, but no. But I thought that the funny moment with the psychic paper, like, just gave her that she isn't perfect. That she does have some funny moments. She has a little bit of quirky moments at times, but overall, the Doctor felt that she was in control. She felt like she was taking command straight away, and even still, that she said that she was the Witchfinder General. Then sooner, 5 minutes later, King James arrives at Becky Savage's house, and then all of a sudden, she shows the psychic paper again and says Witchfinder Assistant, which I would probably think that, knowing that King James's mind, that he honestly thinks that women can't be generals at all, because back in the early 17th century, women aren't supposed to do, like, say, general jobs. It's mainly the males that take over, and it's like, Witchfinder's assistants. Like, what? That can't be right. It's like, so you must be the Witchfinder General. It's like, yes, sire, that's me. I was like, I love Grey Walsh just like standing around and staring. It's like, oh yeah, sir, that's me. That's King Witchfinder General. So it kind of makes us feel like that Bradley Walsh is being put on the spot straight away, and he comes out with a really great response to King James. So he doesn't crack under pressure. Like, Bradley Walsh can be instantly like taking control. If he needed to be another person or pretended to be somebody else, he would do it straight away without any refusal. Just one looks like, oh yes, that's me. That's me, the Witchfinder General, promoted from ethics. I mean, I thought that was a really good moment for Bradley Walsh. I still think that Bradley Walsh is honestly my favourite companion, and I keep on seeing him week and week and week and week out that he's just performing and performing to certain highs of this series, and I am absolutely blown away of how Bradley Walsh is just such a fantastic companion, and I hope all of you do agree with me, because we really needed a companion for such a long time that everyone is so liking Bradley Walsh at the moment. I don't think anybody really hates him. He's just the one person who you can't hate. and having him doing taking the role of responsibilities for the Doctor, but also having good funny moments and serious moments gives Bradley Walsh that overall feeling that he's in complete control. He has a lot of great elements to his character. Just shows that how much he's been built up over the last few weeks. Just shows that how strong and how important of a companion he really is to the Doctor and towards the other team members. So yeah, he's definitely a fantastic companion, and I loved his moments with King James about protecting him, but also when Bradley Walsh was going through the forest with Yaz and Ryan. It's like, oh, I wish I took up a training session of how do you of what to do when you find them. I like that a lot because no, because they were on this like little mission to follow these weird mud creatures or so-called dead corpse witches or something like that, walking and following them through the forest. And Bradley was all traveling incognito with the tall top hat. Reminded me of Patrick Troughton for some apparent reason. That massive top hat reminded me so much of Patrick Troughton back in Power of the Daleks, where he wore that massive top hat. It just reminded me so much of Patrick Troughton. And then we had Yaz going back to see if Willow was all right after her granny was drowned and unfortunately died, and she was saying a prayer in the grave, and then all of a sudden this weird mud tendril came up from the ground and started to attack her. And then all I knew was that she was under a lot of pressure, she was under a lot of fear, and overall I thought that her, the guest stars in this episode were really good, even from the little side character like Willa, who might be small, might be innocent, and might be nice and quite scared, but she does have a real good sense of vulnerability about her, which I think knowing that an innocent character like her gives us the same reminiscence to Lucy in Kablam. Kind of gives us the feeling that those types of characters are vulnerable in those situations, but you know so much about them. They usually spend about at least a good 3 to 4 minutes explaining more about their character, about their backstory, and it just gives so much detail to those little side characters to make them feel like that you should feel sorry for them, even if they are in trouble, or even if you do feel a little bit of sorrow, you should still feel that you have some responsibility to be sorry for that character, because this character is going through a hellish time, and you've got the wonder that that could be me in that situation. So she can be very relatable, and even if through all of these little side characters you still have to feel sorry for them, even if they build up to some great moments and it makes you feel like, oh, I liked her, but I did really want her to die. But I'm glad she didn't die, because she had a real good sense of personality. Although she was scared and quite vulnerable and innocent at the beginning, but then sooner or later towards the end, she picked herself up and she started to have a lot more confidence and started to lead the way with the Doctor and the gang to find the king and the rest of these other witch creatures, which were known as the Morax. Kind of gives me the feeling that the Morax is quite of an interesting threat. And I've got to admit, the Morax in this episode. See, I don't know what to think. At first, I was a bit puzzled and a bit confused of who they were. I mean, firstly of all, I thought it was witches. Then all of a sudden, I knew it was Satan. Then I knew it was Morax. And then I don't know, are all of these bits connected? And in a way, on second viewing, all of them were connected, because back in the day, people used to go mental and used to go crazy if evil landed in the village. They obviously knew it was Satan, and witches were part of Satan's evil creation. And knowingly that the Morax was sort of like witches, conjuring up a spell to rise their king from the dead, to rise them up from prison, and having the Morax king. And I've got to admit, the graphics of where the king arose from the tree and started to attack King James, the face. Boy, I was scared. I even had to hide behind the sofa. I got goosebumps. And that, I haven't felt like that for ages. I can't remember the last time that I actually felt any sort of threat. Like, I knew one thing, that this episode had to be amazing, but knowingly enough that this episode had to have some sort of drive and some actual threat. And they got it. There was an actual alien threat, and I was pretty much scared for when the Morax creatures came up, but also knowing them that they were Morax, and then the creature from the tree arose, and I was literally scared out of my wits. Like, trust me, I felt goosebumps when that little it was like the mud tendril again, but having like a face as well. It was just so terrifying. And that was the first ever alien threat that I think I've experienced in Series 11. And I was like thinking, about time too, we've actually got an alien threat for once. So yeah, that's definitely a positive. I mean, we've been struggling on trying to find a real threat and real alien threat, but we got one this week. And I'm genuinely so happy and so relieved that we finally got, we finally got an alien threat. And you know what? I should be all right for the next 2 episodes, because I know for the fact that there will be more threats within the next 2 episodes. The next episode is a bit of a mystery to me, but I do know that the finale is going to pose a real big threat, so I can't wait. So it does mean that Doctor Who can pose a real threat in an episode, which means that they can do it pretty much in any episode. It doesn't have to be that one particular character has to go evil and then has to go become this kind of Morax creature. Let me have a little look at my notes, because there is a little bit about the Morax that at the moment I'm still trying to wonder and how the whole ending came about. Like, this was the one thing that many people felt a bit confused by, because the whole thing about, Becca and how did she become so patronizing and so paranoid is just quite a mystery, because I knew for the fact that in Kablam you had all of these other different characters who could be, the villain in disguise. But this episode kind of felt a bit too predictable, because you automatically knew that it had to be Becca Savage. It couldn't be King James. It couldn't be Willem, or could it be anybody else? It had to be Becca Savage of all characters. But what actually happened to her was just it was quite unusual. It was quite confusing at the moment. But then when I had a second watch, I suddenly clicked, and it started to make more sense. That when the Doctor confronts Becca, what she's hiding, like mud fell from Becca's eye, and I thought, like, hang on a minute, what's this? What is that? What is that? And so I knew for the fact that although she was quite patronizing, quite powerful and manipulative, you knew something was wrong with her. And when you saw that little dribble of mud down her eyes, like, oh shit, what's going on here? And so that's what I kind of feel like. But then Becca kind of orders these mud type of soldier creatures to stop moving and to stop talking. It's like she's controlling them. And it's like, hang on, hold me back here. I need a little simplified version of what this is actually all about. Because that's what, people need, really. They don't need all of this jibber jabberish. They need like a simplified version of what is actually going on here. And I think this episode, at first viewing, I was a bit, what? Hang on, wait, what? So yeah, I was a bit confused. Then suddenly on my second rewatch, I felt like it did click, but you just had to truly listen out and truly understand it for you to really know what the hell was going on with Becca Savage turning into this Morax queen, if you'd like to call it that. So yeah, so basically what Becca tells us is that Becca kind of chopped down like a sacred tree on Pennington Hill, which was blocking her view, and so she decided to chop it down. And that's where the axe came into play. So she was chopping the tree down, and then this weird creature or mud tendril, or this weird mud technology attacked her leg, and she was like poisoned or infested with this type of mud technology, this alien technology infecting her. And then all of a sudden, she was taking a lot of medicine. She was trying to fight it. She thought it was Satan poisoning her and letting Satan in. She kind of felt that she was the witch, and she was kind of feeling that she was doing Satan's, doing God's job, hoping that God could save her with letting Satan in her body. She kind of felt that it was more of a religious threat rather than just a spiritual, quite like a supernatural type of feeling to it. It was more alien tech, but yet religious as well, because it kind of felt that they all thought it was Satan. They all thought it was witchcraft, but no, it was just some weird mud alien tech, which I'm still trying to pick. I'm still trying to figure out weird alien mud tech, which is just mud or a weird tree that's just been adapted to alien technology. I'm still trying to get my head around that, if that's a good idea. I mean, they could have thought of something else that could have been a lot better, but weird tree and weird mud as an alien technology advanced something. I don't know, but it just felt just really weird as having mud or this weird tree as like some part of a big, massive, one whole technology bio mecha transmitter or something like that. I don't know. It just felt weird that way. And so, yes, Becca lets Satan in. She was possessed, and she becomes the Morax. And then sooner or later, she went on about the Morax king has been imprisoned on Pendle Hill, an alien army imprisoned and captured for committing war crimes. So there must have been a time where the Morlocks must have done war crimes, and then they must have been sealed away and locked away down on Earth in Lancaster on Pendleton Hill, and knowingly enough that they were trying to break the lock and release themselves from their prison. And it kind of makes us feel like that when Becca knocked that tree down, kind of gives us the feeling that I was trying to figure out what did the lock even meant. Look, I think this episode was a bit tricky and a bit unusual to get your head around. But for me on second watch, I did find it slightly better to understand it. I just didn't get the whole bit about what was the lock involved? Like, how did they unlock, like, say, the Morax or unlock the prison? I kind of didn't really knew how they unlocked the prison, which was kind of weird for me. So what they're trying to say that when Becca broke down the tree, they unlocked the lock in a way. So basically, all of Becca's chopping down the wood, chopping down the tree, broke wary of the lock, and the lock was broken. And then all of a sudden, that she had some kind of sensitive touch to the wood or to the tree, because the Ducker store was partially made from the wood that Becca chopped down and was used as the Ducker school. So every single time that her hand reacted to the tree, kind of broke the lock away slightly. But I don't know if this is the truth or not, or I'm just making this up. But here's my kind of suspicions of what I thought about this entire thing about the lock and like how were they unlocked. I kind of got the feeling that when Becca was dunking all of these witches, 36 witches that she's dunked, I kind of got the feeling that all of these dunkings broke the lock. And every single time that a witch has been dunked or has been accused of witchcraft, every person who has just been dunked down under the water wears the lock away. It kind of wears it away in a way. That is such a weird tongue twister, I know, but it kind of gives way of the lock, so the lock becomes a bit rusty and a bit broken, and then all of a sudden, like, it had to be to a certain point where she touched the rock or somebody had to get dunked, and then the lock would be unlocked. That's what I thought, but knowing like this now, I literally, and then all of a sudden, I have people telling me that it was actually the tree that she knocked down, and then knowingly enough, that the whole tree, when it was chopped down, the lock was broken. And I was like thinking, hang on, so she must have knocked down this tree a while ago. So if she did this a while ago, how has it not happened already? How did it not happen at the beginning when the tree was already knocked down? And how did the Morax prison was not free at the beginning? That's me being completely like bewildered. Like how like it should have happened already. Like if the tree got knocked down, then the lock should have been unlocked. But no, even the creatures weren't even released. And so kind of makes me the feeling that it should have been released already. But again, I felt it was really confusing at the beginning. But it sort of made sense in the end. And so they were accused of, well, captured for committing war crimes. And then sooner or later, the lock was broken because of Becca's infection taking over her body, and she must have let in or must have touched the tree. So well, that doesn't sound right. It's like over for a certain point where Becca's been trying to hold the infection back, and then all of a sudden the lock has been broken because she's let Satan in, and she's let this entire disease poison her and take over her body. So something must have happened then. So that's just my idea. But again, I was just a bit confused on it. Just really was. It's just one of those episodes where you need more than one rewatch. I kind of got about 3 rewatches after that, and I was like thinking, huh? Okay, I need to rewatch this again because this is just blow. I don't even know what's going on here. So it kind of gives us the feeling that the ending was slightly not properly explained. So that's my only negative I've got to say. I can understand it for one perspective, but talking as it is in right now, I kind of feel like I'm talking so much bullshit that all of this of what I'm talking about is not actually real, and I'm just talking a lot of shit. So that's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. Oh, it's one of those days really where I would talk so much, and then it does actually have an actual essential solution to the plot. It's just me running my mouth. But no, I do get it. Just needs to be simplified, if you know what I mean, because I have trouble trying to explain everything really. So maybe a simplified version could be better. But no, when the Morlocks were released, they said that King James was planned to be filled with their king, and then everyone else with the planets was going to be filled with force and rage, and they were going to take over the entire planet and kill everybody. And then suddenly or later, they woke up from like a big massive blast the Morax forced from their hands. It was like more of like a strong force of wind. And then then the Doctor and the gang just fell to the ground, and they woke back up, knowing that they had to save King James. And then they used some anti-Morax weapons with the wood that they broke off. They lit it on fire, and they used it as a weapon to send Morax into prison, to be imprisoned again, and to seal away the Morax king, to prevent King James from being possessed by the Morax king. That ending, I actually understand now. That explanation is much better than what was the Morax and how was the lock broken. That was just the one thing that I was really struggling on. But no, I really liked. Like I said, the Morax king was very scary, and then we had King James, knowingly enough that it's an episode about witchcraft and all about burning them to stake. And I knew that when King James had the flame in his hand, and the Morax were going to be imprisoned no matter what, because every single Morax cell was being taken away and put back into the prison on that tree. So basically, that entire tree stump was basically like a prison, and the entire Morax army was being forced down into the tree and being sealed away. But the Morax queen was still there, and so King James's initial thought was like, "Burn the witch! Burn the witch!" know what? I can't really argue with him. I kind of actually want to do the same thing because at the end of the day, she was a witch. She let Satan in. She was a threat to the entire human race. She was going to kill us all. So I kind of felt that I was rightly doing by King James. I really, really liked his performance a lot, King James. He was just. You know what? Let's move on to King James because enough with all of the weird ending nonsense. Let's actually talk about King James because King James to me was God's chosen ruler and Satan's greatest foe. He traveled incognito, which explained the mask. King James taking the mick of the Doctor of her role, and I was really, really having so much fun with King James. Like, oh, you shut up, you wee lassie. It's like, oh, you know, it was like the whole thing about at the beginning where Graham was like, it's a sort of weak team structure, but we all have our areas of expertise, even the wee lassie. And then the Doctor was like, even me, yes, even me. So it kind of makes us I really found it as a real heartwarming and humorous moment to just take the mick out of the Doctor. That was just a great moment. I love that from King James. It was quite naughty, very cheeky. And then all of a sudden you see a different side to King James. Like he was manipulative, he couldn't trust anyone. And then you saw the entire backstory with King James explaining to Ryan. And I felt that there was a real good bromance with both of them. And I know for the fact that King James wasn't really a big, massive, sort of like it's not really like a bromance, but it kind of felt like it was. It was like more like of a so-called allied friendship, but I kind of called it was a bromance because it was for me. But talking about James's backstory and how he was brought up as a child to not only be the king, but also to be God's chosen ruler and Satan's greatest foe. And that kind of makes us feel like that he has a lot of authority, but he has a lot of well-being and so much custom and so much ingenuity about him that he has so much diversity that he can be at one point yet very cheeky and very, very naughty and quite, he was very, very camp. His accent was very, very good. I don't think his accent was a bit over the top. He was very theatrical. And I love King James for being so theatrical because as a historical character, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a very over the top theatrical character. Some people didn't like King James being over the top with his camp accent. I absolutely found it so hilarious, and I felt it was highly essential for him to be a real good character because his dialogue was on point, his expressions were amazing, and I love again the bromance between Ryan and King James was just really good stuff. Really, really, really good stuff. It's like, oh, that felt good. I was like, you're not kidding, Your Majesty. No, I'm not. So it kind of makes us feel like that they've got a real good friendship behind them both. Gosh, imagine Ryan looking back on this now. Like, I met King James, and he sort of fancied me in a way. Perhaps he did. I don't know. But no, I think King James had a real great overall performance. Because knowingly enough, Alan Cumming, because I didn't know much about Alan Cumming. I saw a few photos like, oh, I've recognized him before somewhere. I know what he's been in. And so I already know that he was going to give us tremendous performance, but not like that. Like that performance for me was the best performance from any kind of side character that we've got, apart from Yaz, Ryan, Graham, and the Doctor. That for me is the best performance that we have seen in Series 11 that is not a regular. What performance from Alan Cumming. He was just amazing. I really enjoyed him. I don't think there was one little bit that I really despised about King James. No, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing that I absolutely disliked about King James. He was just amazing from start to finish. And then knowingly enough that then we had let's have a look about this. Yes. I thought the whole bit about Satan manifesting himself here in the 17th century, because back in that day where everyone thought that when evil was coming around, they always put the finger at Satan or people who were in league with Satan, mainly witches and warlocks. So Satan was merely manifesting himself here by, blighting the crops, bewitching animals, plaguing people with sickness, and other like so-called supernatural visions, like so-called like you can see ghosts, or you can see like other accusations being made, like you can see into the future of what's already happened. So you can kind of get the feeling that Satan is all around us. And you can feel like a real gloom, darky type creepiness and quite intensive feeling to this episode. And this episode looked amazing as well. I thought the creepy darkness with the so-called white spiky trees, that blew me away. I mean, it was just so good filmography from Doctor Who. I mean, the setting was just really good. I loved the music. The music was fantastic. And yes, I just thought that Becca Savage, she was powerful, she was a strong believer in God, and she did her job for her king, but also had a little bit of a backstory, a little secretive backstory of what she was hiding, and then later became the Morak. So in the end, she was quite powerful and quite emotionless. She didn't really have all of that well-being of being a true leader. She found it quite difficult, but also she kind of felt that it was highly essential to protect every single soul in the village, but knowing enough that she had this type of fear, this dread behind her back, but she had to overcome it by doing God's job in order for God to reward her by releasing her of her freedom from being infected with this mud tendril that kind of makes me feel like that mud takes over human, then later becomes an alien Morax, then suddenly tries to take over the world with the leader of the Morax king taking over King James. That's my type of feeling. That's like the entire plot in one kind of quick summary. That's what it means to me, and I buy it. It just needs a little bit of work. Not, I don't think this episode was anything outstanding. I thought the historical context and the witchcraft theme was done really nicely. I thought that they pretty much nailed every single bit of where they included some kind of historical juice into the episode, and they pulled it off really well. I think that the entire history of where they've had history inserts to episodes where this was what it was like back in the day, where the doctor's role was judged as being a woman. Like a woman can't be the general, and it kind of gives us the feeling that the doctor has a lot of anxiety to build up, and knowing enough that she has a real proud job to do, but still King James can't buy it from her. And it's like there's loads of persuasions and a lot of explanations from the doctor trying to figure out what this mud is and what it can actually cause. What is Becca hiding? I thought the doctor had an outstanding performance. Again, she is becoming and so more natural of her being the doctor. You can honestly see the kind of comfort that she has being the doctor. She's so comfortable with delivering these lines of generosity, quirkiness. You see the anger and aggressiveness from her. That she's just absolutely amazing. Another standout performance from her again. So, what can I say from Jodie Whittaker? I think Jodie Whittaker is slowly becoming one of the best doctors that we've had in Doctor Who's history. I think all of the doctors are so good. And that means, as a retrospective point, I love all the doctors. And I don't think there's any single one doctor that I feel like that doctor, I don't like him, I don't like her. I love all the doctors. I really do. And I think it's been really difficult to see the entire Doctor Who fandom trying to agree the fact that some people like Jodie Whittaker, some don't. But in a way, we're all equal anyway. But it kind of gives us the feeling that there's a slight kind of bitterness to some people towards Jodie Whittaker, but the majority of the whole Doctor Who fandom are so impressed of how Jodie Whittaker has just been built up to become not only like the Doctor, but as a character that has different elements, different elements of surprise, just different elements of emotions. And I love the speech with the Doctor and King James in the middle section of the episode. And you know what it felt like? It felt like Peter Capaldi making a speech. It reminded me that Jodie Whittaker was speaking to King James about the secrets of existence, of how she gained all of this knowledge. It really reminded me of Peter Capaldi making a speech every single time that he was questioned by his guilt, by his position, by his existence, by his gain of knowledge. So you sort of see that the entire speech elements of Peter Capaldi's Doctor was sort of given to Jodie Whittaker's Doctor to give her a little good speech about herself and how she comes about of being this wanderer from time and space, knowing all of this knowledge, knowing of the real world, of real life, and how to get on with it. Just found it absolutely end to end stuff. And even to the point where King James was listening to the Doctor about this speech, King James kind of felt really confused, but kind of felt sorrow, kind of felt a bit guilty of what he's actually become. But knowing that he has no darkness in him, but it's like this was one thing that I really liked. It was a lot of cheap shots that the Doctor and King James threw at each other, the title of King James, but you hide. It's just behind the title, just like you hide behind Doctor. It's like, oh, yeah, no, cheap shot. Well done, you both. No, but oh god, it was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic stuff. I think that's the one type of speech that kind of showcases what the 13th Doctor's all about. That's just making me love the 13th Doctor more and more. And I've got to admit that from episode 1, I was glued to her. Episode 2, again, fantastic. Episode 3, sensational. Then episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, episode 7, and now episode 8. We're on to episode 8. And Jodie Whittaker, every single week, is proving yet again of how amazing she is as the Doctor. Some people will like her, some people are a bit unsure about her, and then some people completely disliking Jodie Whittaker. But I love the serious element this time. I mean, you can see the difference between when you have writers that are not Chris Chibnall. Chris Chibnall, when she writes Jodie Whittaker, he doesn't write Jodie Whittaker with a lot more fear or a lot more anger or aggressive type of anger. You never see that from Jodie Whittaker. When Chris Chibnall wrote with Jodie Whittaker, when Chris Chibnall wrote an episode with Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall could never ever just take Jodie Whittaker above an element of where she's strong, she's powerful, she's taking control, but she's also having a great sense of moments where she's being put in a position where she needs to stand some authority. She needs to be powerful. She needs to be angry and aggressive. But I think for the 3 episodes that we've got from the Demons of the Punjab, not written by Chris Chibnall, Kablam, not written by Chris Chibnall, and then we had the Witchfinders, not written by Chris Chibnall. So I can perfectly see the difference between Chris Chibnall's writing and other writers, that they can write Jodie Whittaker so much better than Chris Chibnall can do. And that, unfortunately, is quite shameful, because I thought Chris Chibnall should have been a lot more precise and a lot more dangerous and a little bit more daring with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. But no, it's like he kind of restricted her to not have any anger emotions. Of course, the Doctor should have angry and aggressive and furious moments in some episodes. But I felt that when Chris Chibnall didn't write any of those episodes, Jodie Whittaker has been on fire. Truly on fire. Not like burning her, but she was literally on point on every single point of her game. Just end-to-end stuff from Jodie Whittaker. Again, there was sort of a sexist remark about the Doctor defending herself. It was like, oh gosh, honestly, if I was a bloke, I would not even be standing here defending myself. Yeah. I knew it was going to happen. I don't know if this is or isn't, but that I don't know if it is a sexist remark. I've honestly, if I was a bloke, I would not even be here standing here trying to defend myself. Hmm, that is tricky. That is I'm scared of what I'm going to say because I know for the fact that if some people are watching this that are female, if I say something that is absolutely so sexist, if I try and say something that is sort of like complimenting that kind of sexist remark, then I'm going to be blamed like big time. Look, I thought that sort of scene with that sexist remark, honestly, if I was a bloke, I would not even be standing here defending myself. Ugh. Now, I knew for the fact that they weren't going to add any sort of sexist remarks up until this point, but then they had to in this episode, which kind of makes me feel like that, putting to question that every single woman, knowing enough that if she would be in that same situation, she'd be defending herself. But then again, if David Tennant or Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi was in that situation, they wouldn't need to defend themselves because they will already be taking charge of the situation because everyone will be listening to them because they are the dominant gender. That kind of makes me feel like that. Ooh, why did you have to put that in there? I mean, that is sort of sexist to like most women. Like every single time, like imagine if a woman was in that position, like Jodie Whittaker was, she would have to defend herself all the time. And like if a male was in there, the male would not even have to even budge in defending himself. So yeah, again, a sexist remark just didn't need to be in there. And I don't think that line didn't need to be in there because honestly, that would have made the whole episode just completely neutral. Up until this point in this series, it was completely neutral, apart from that one sexist remark, which was a bit. It wasn't too offensive, but it was slightly on the edge of being offensive. It was sort of tight of being offensive. So yeah, tricky, close but tricky. So yeah, I'm just gonna have a little look of what I've missed out. Again, I thought that the creepy, murky, and the historical music score was really good by Sigourney Canola. The brilliant scenery and the direction was really good. Becca and James were accused the Doctor and arrested of witchcraft as her intervention and investigations brought her danger into the village. Like I kind of saw that ever since the Doctor arrived in Biohurst Crag, I knew for the fact that there had to be danger. Whenever danger occurs, the Doctor always has to be there. So there was never ever danger up until that point until the Doctor arrived. So they kind of had to make all of these obligations and accusations that the Doctor had to be the witch. And then we had that brilliant speech with the 13th Doctor and King James as well. And then sooner or later, King James just couldn't really buy from Jodie Whittaker. Then had her forced over to the lake to have her drowned by Becky Savage. And I love, again, the confrontations between Jodie Whittaker and Becky Savage were just, again, unbelievable. Just really, like, honestly, I could see end-to-end stuff. Like, she has the aggressive manner, like Peter Capaldi, like Matt Smith, like David Tennant, like every other Doctor. You can see she has so much more than just being a nice, friendly, smiley face in the background. She can be aggressive. She can be furious. She can be upright in your face. That is what I love about Jodie Whittaker. Just honestly, the more I watch her, the more I'm glued to her, the more I praise her for all of her amazing dialogue, her amazing acting, and her expressions and her different use of like her funny quirky bits of like hi gang, team, fam, like, and then her companion's like, just cut that please. Speaking of the companions, I felt that every single companion in this episode sort of had a small part to play. Now this is just me and my personal opinion, but sometimes when you have some companions where they can sort of like stand around in the background and you're there wondering like, are they actually going to get into this situation or are they just going to do something or are they just going to stand there and just do nothing? But for me, I've got to say, that Bradley Walsh, Yasmin Khan, well, Mandip Gill, and Tosin Cole, they had all of them had real great performances. I loved Yaz when she was investigating the um, the the death of Willa's granny, and also explaining slightly a little bit more about the dread and the fear that she suffers, like Willa does. But also, she does have some great moments when she's assisting the doctor and helping out in her investigation. So I felt that Yaz definitely had a good part. Graham was fantastic. I hate to criticize Bradley Walsh for his performance, but he was just, again, sensational. He could be at one time in charge of the situation, then knowingly enough being very, very confused and making a really sarcastic remark, or just being very, very funny or very, very stupid in the end. But knowingly enough, that type of humor makes his character so strong, and he has so much unique intervention in these situations, like taking over matters when he needs to be the main man. He can step up to the plate. And the same thing goes with Ryan. I felt that he had a real good performance, not only aiding with the Doctor and with Graham, but also aiding with King James, being King James's protector. And I felt that at the end of the episode, where King James made an offer for Ryan to come back with him to London, I felt like, could this be the departure of Ryan? Could Ryan go back with King James? It's like King James and Ryan just made the perfect bromance. You couldn't just. This wasn't written in the stars. This just was made for Ryan and for King James just to be the perfect partnership. And I love the little bit at the end where it's like, "Oh, my protector, thank you, my Nubian prince, Ryan, come back to London with me, Ryan." It's like that accent was so persuasive. It kind of made me feel like that. That's a kind of sire, but I've got stuff to do. And here's the thing: you have King James being all camp and having that persuasive accent of his, and then you have Ryan having this type of northern accent, and it's like, it's just so different. So different of having Ryan speaking out and having his accent of a northern accent compared to his camp sort of southern accent. It's just so different. I've got stuff to do, but I keep my eye on you, and I like that little badge, or that little artifact. It was like a little eye, so I'll keep my eye on you, and so you behave yourself. So, and you know what? King James was happy about that. He was smiling in the end, which I don't actually see that many often from historical characters. I literally thought that he was going to be the bad guy in this episode. I literally did, but sooner towards the near end of the episode, he became like somebody who you could just stand by, although you couldn't really trust him. But he sort of slowly gained more trust in the believers of like Ryan, like Graham, like even the Doctor. So you saw that at the beginning, King James was yet funny, yet naughty, very theatrical, and so suave and so cool. Then sooner or later, you knew that you couldn't really trust him because he was quite manipulative, he was quite dangerous, he was quite persuasive, and then all of a sudden, talking to the Doctor and making him realize himself that all of these other people around him are trusting him. And so there has to be sort of like a little bit of trust with them back. So it kind of makes us feel like a little bit of guilt, a little bit of sorrow. Feeling sorry for King James is not what I had in mind. But then again, I still felt that King James had a wonderful performance. I mean, God, I think this episode was meant for Alan Cumming to have a phenomenal performance. I knew for a fact that he was going to take this episode by the script, and he was going to perform like he has done for most of his other performances in many other TV shows. But this episode, for a one-off Doctor Who episode, he was sensational. I loved him to bits. Loved him to bits. Again, the end of the episode was slightly a bit confusing with the whole idea about the lock. I'm still trying to figure out what this lock actually meant. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to see if I can try and understand it and try to explain it properly without any too many confusions. If I can't, I can't, but at least I've tried. So my honest feeling when it came to this lock, I probably had the feeling that when Becca chopped the tree down, and when I said that many times, like about like 20 minutes ago, knowingly enough that when she broke the tree down, when she chopped it down, the lock was probably broken. And I think that what it meant. But here's my little theory on it. How did it not happen straight away? Because if she completely knocked down the tree, or maybe it was half the tree, or maybe she kind of touched the Duncan stool maybe once or twice, and that kind of broke down the lock each time that she touched the tree. It kind of slowly broke down the lock. Or maybe it could be the deadly disease inside her poisoning her. And as soon as she couldn't really take any more and she couldn't really fight it, Satan was let in and the entire alien technology took over her. And I thought that the voice of the Morlocks was very dark and very antagonized it, like, we are here to destroy and destroy with rage and anger. Like, I thought that was slightly too dark for me. And I thought that voice just became... The voice was good. Again, slightly a bit over the top with that voice. I didn't mind King James's accent because King James, I thought, fair enough, hands down, brilliant character. But the voice, though, on the Morax, though, was slightly a bit too over the top. Just slightly too dark and too deep. I was like, you are filled with rage. We are the Morax. It's like really, really deep. And I kind of felt sorry for Becca, who had to basically talk in a very, very deep alien voice. So for me, it just felt a bit obscured and a bit abstract in a way, that her voice was completely changed around from being quite light and quite light-hearted in her manner, but then again being quite dark and quite deep down dark toned, with her voice being the Morax. And I felt like the Morax were probably the one only alien threat that we've had for Series 11, and I still can't believe it. Episode 8, we've got an alien threat. I kind of wanted it slightly early, but it's better late than never. So we actually have an alien threat for once. I'm just surprised. I'm absolutely surprised of how this episode, at the beginning, going into this episode, I was thinking 3 historical episodes in Series 11. Can they make this one better than all of the other 2? And I was thinking to myself, it's on par with all of them. I think the one that stands out for me, if I had to pick one historical episode from this series, it has to be Rose's episode. Then for me, it's got to be the Witchfinders. I'm sorry, but that has got to be my honest opinion. And then it's got to be the Demons of the Punjab. But I've got to admit, I love these historical episodes in Series 11. I think we've had more historical episodes than we had present or future episodes. And I absolutely love these historical episodes. They have done these historical episodes to perfection. It's like all of the other historical episodes. All of the other historical episodes that we've had in Doctor Who have not been outstanding. They've not been exact. But you know what? I think for the one point, or the one thing that I'm going to mention in my overview of Series 11, is the fact that they've done every single historical episode to perfection. They have pretty much nailed on every single historical episode to the right timelines, to the right historical inserts, to the characters, to the setting, to the plots, and to the overall feeling of what this episode means to us and how we learn so much from these historical episodes. Like, what does it portray? What do we learn from it? And it's like, we are so amazed, and I'm so impressed that these historical episodes are so damn good. That's my honest opinion about these historical episodes, that they are so much better than what, like, other historical episodes that we've got in the past. Like, Look, I'm gonna summarize of some historical episodes that I've got to say that weren't really the best. Like the Curse of the Black Spot, that was a historical episode. I'm gonna say Victory of the Daleks. What else? Vincent and the Doctor. That's a standard one. That's a standout, perfect one. What else? The Crimson Horror. Again, not probably the best. Um, Cold War. All right, I must admit. It's just in terms of actually adding a historical insert, an historical feeling to it, and yet having an alien threat at the same time. It was just completely balanced again. So yeah, I've got nothing more to mention of this episode other than that this episode, again, in terms of historical context, has been really good. Also, another thing I've got to mention that the sonic screwdriver wasn't used that much. I was actually surprised of the Doctor hardly using the sonic screwdriver. So she can use an episode not using the sonic screwdriver for once. She only used it about 3 times, and then also she hardly ever used it, which kind of makes us feeling that she doesn't really need the sonic screwdriver all around at all, only when she really needs it. And I kind of got the feeling that when Jodie Whittaker started to scan Willa with her son's screwdriver, I have the feeling really like she doesn't really need her son's screwdriver to basically analyze of to condition her of Willa's health. I didn't think that was necessary. The one thing that would have been nice is that if the doctor had a stethoscope in her pocket and then like, can I just scan you? I am a doctor, by the way. Not by using my son's screwdriver, but if she had like a stethoscope, that would have been a better approach because that's what I call a real doctor. Just scanning somebody is just not going to tell you like, oh, they're normal, or are they not well, or are they not healthy enough, or something like that. You don't sonic somebody just to see if they're all right or they're in good health condition. You use a stethoscope or you use some actual high-tech pieces of equipment to scan if people are better, not just scanning people. So yeah, I'm glad that the sonic wasn't overly used in this episode, and I kind of got the feeling that again, the whole alien threat about alien mud tendrils transforming these weird type of mud soldiers. And I've got to admit that the design of these mud creatures, they looked menacing. They looked creepy. And for once, I actually felt goosebumps for this episode. I really did. Going into this episode, I knew for a fact that there had to be some real drive to this episode to really make this episode so engaging and so threatening. And yet we had these monsters, and when we had this amazing reveal of the Morax, I felt goosebumps, and I haven't felt these goosebumps for a while. So yeah, I felt that this episode was a real good success, and my overall rating for this episode, see, that's really difficult because I can really pick out one that is like, I'm just trying to have a real good think about this now because what can I give it out? Because I know I rated Rosa probably a 9.5. I rated the Demons of the Punjab 9.5 or 10. I can't remember. So I don't know. There were some bits I didn't like. The end was a bit confusing, but I thought that the performances were great. The plot was good. The historical feeling was great. And I felt that this entire episode did this historical feeling. It's just made me so happy. Like I've actually got historical episodes to watch now from Doctor Who. Like I can go back to all these historical episodes and feel like that I know a bit more about the past. I know a little bit more about the overall history that I wasn't taught upon, like King James's history, like the partition of India or Rosa Parks' backstory. I wasn't even taught upon that of any of that. And so I'm really glad of these historical episodes having a real impactful mindset of all of us, teaching us something new about history. And the one thing that has become a trend with these historical episodes, and I kind of thought that this episode was slightly different. because this episode, unlike with the Demons of the Punjab and Rosa Parks' episode, this episode didn't have a theme. Not like the Doctor Who theme tune. This episode just had the normal Doctor Who theme tune instead of a pop song that related so well to the history of these historical episodes. So it didn't really have a single pop song in this episode. I didn't think that it needed to have a pop song. So I am glad that they didn't add a pop song at the end of this episode, because I kind of felt it was a trend, because you had that amazing song of Rise Up from Rosa Parks' episode, and then you had the Indian version of the Doctor Who theme tune at the end of the Demons of the Punjab. And now you've just got the normal theme tune of Doctor Who at the end of this episode, which I think just suits the entire context of Doctor Who really well, honestly. Like every the episode, just finish it off with the normal theme tune. You don't need like a silly or a stupid pop song to finish off the episode. You don't need that. So I'm glad that they didn't add a pop song at the end of this episode, because it just wouldn't make any sense. And I probably would have hated this episode a lot more than I would have done right now. But honestly, I think that concludes my episode live stream review on the Witchfinders, and I'm going to give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. I'm sort of going to maybe 9.4, maybe 9.3, but somewhere around about there, because there were some nitpicks that I didn't like. The ending, again, if you don't understand the ending, then that's going to depend on your rating for this episode. I don't know if you completely understand the episode. I don't know if you understood the explanation at the end. Did you feel like that the explanation was kind of rushed? Did you feel like that you wanted a simplified version? Did you feel that this episode had a real good historical feeling? Did you feel like all the characters were on point today? What did you think of Jodie Whittaker? Did you think of Alan Cummings' performance? Was it fantastic? And what did you think of all of these other historical episodes throughout Series 11? I'm really interested to hear all of your opinions about this amazing episode of The Witchfinders. So please comment down below your opinions of this amazing episode. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please like this video, and remember to please subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos. And that's it, guys. That's the end for my live stream review. We've only got 2 more live streams to go, and then it's bye-bye Doctor Who Series 11. Oh god, I still can't believe that this week or Doctor Who's almost over. We've got until what's the next? Where's the date going to be finally when Doctor Who finishes? So Doctor Who's going to finish. Doctor Who's going to finish on the 9th of December. The 9th of December, which is less than 2 weeks now. Less than 2 weeks till Doctor Who finishes. I don't want this to end. I really don't want this to end. And then we've got to wait until the new year on Tuesday, where we'll get a New Year Day special. And believe it or not, we've had the synopsis, and we have a new costume design for the Doctor. A new scarf for her. Gotta admit, I'm loving the new scarf of the 13th Doctor. I'm loving the new scarf. I really am. I think I need to have that scarf. Gives us reminiscence of Tom Baker's scarf, but isn't as long as his scarf. Like, his scarf was, I don't know, 4 feet long in a way. So, or even longer. I think it's even longer than me. So yeah, definitely I have a feeling that the New Year's Day special is going to be somewhat interesting. It's like they're traveling back home, but they are. I can't remember what the synopsis was. I remembered thinking about it, and here's the only bit I know about the synopsis. Not even looking at my phone. It's like the Doctor and her gang travel back in the TARDIS, where they stumble upon something quite dangerous and something quite threatening. Again, threatening is a key word I'm using, and they have to solve out this problem before this type of threat heads back home to Earth, because basically they're on their way home back home from an alien adventure, and soon enough they're heading back home where they stumble across this alien threat. I'm just wondering, what is this alien threat going to be? I'm really hoping that it's either a returning monster. I just hope it's not a real another unknown alien villain that we don't know about. I really would love the Daleks to return, or maybe the Cybermen to return, or the Weeping Angels to return, or the Zygons, or the Krynoids, or any other Doctor Who monsters. Please comment down below, what type of monster would you like to see in the New Year's Day special? Because I have a feeling that for me, the one type of monster that I want to have for this New Year's Day special is the Daleks. That's my #1 pick that I want to see Jodie Whittaker face off with the Daleks in the new year. Could we get that? I'm hoping that we do. I'm really hoping that we do. So yes, please comment down below all of those suggestions that I've made out to all of you. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Remember to like this review, and remember to please subscribe and tell all your friends. If you're interested in hearing a live stream review, then please get your friends to come onto this live stream and make sure that they watch me and my opinions. So make sure that we get a lot more views in this video, because I know the views have been slightly going down on my videos, but I've just hit another milestone, which is slightly another. It's not really a milestone. It's just more like another achievement. It's like 160 subscribers. Like, I'm going up in subscribers. So if you know any friends of yours that don't know about my channel and you want them to watch my channel, then please make sure you tell them about my channel and about my live stream reviews, and make sure they come and watch my live stream reviews, because I'm going to be really happy if you do that. And so yes, that is the end of this review. So thanks everyone for watching, and I hope I'll see you guys next time for my episode review, my live stream review on episode 9. Episode freaking 9. The penultimate episode of Doctor Who Series 11. How are we going to cope? 10 episodes. I don't think we could cope with 10 episodes. Oh god. I just wish we could have like an extra 2 episodes. Let's just hope that we could have like an extra 2 and keep this going to like the Christmas Eve or something. I don't know. Just kind of makes us feel like that we're almost at the end. It kind of feels like it's just gone so quick for us. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna let you get on with the rest of your day. And I'll see you guys next time in the next video for my next live stream on episode 9. It Takes You Away. Now that's a weird title, I've got to admit. Kind of feels like a song title. Maybe there's going to be a song with it in the end. Maybe it's going to have a little festive twist, as it is going to be aired on the 2nd of December. So who knows? It might have a festive twist, but we'll see in the next video. Until then, guys, take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for watching this live stream. Thanks for all of the support again on the channel. I think the channel is just growing a bit. Once these live streams are finished, then I'm going to go back to my normal format. I am going to do a New Year's Day special. I am going to do one. Trust me, I will. I feel like I need to, because probably once the episode's aired on New Year's Day, afterwards we have a big, massive discussion about it. So yeah, I can't wait for it. Let's just hope for something big in a New Year's Day special. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to get off. I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your lives. You better got other stuff to do than watch me talking my mouth off. See you guys later. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.